Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Horror Coast to Coast.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we review horror movies from opposite sides of the continental U.S. Stranded on a capsized yacht off the coast of Massachusetts, I'm Brian.
And reminding myself never to check into room 237 in California, I'm Michelle.
Stranded on a capsized yacht off the coast of Massachusetts, I'm Brian. And this week, we watched Triangle from 2009, written and directed by Christopher Smith.
Yacht passengers encounter mysterious weather conditions that force them to jump onto another ship, only to have the odd havoc increase.
All right. Yeah, nice and vague.
Yeah, I saw a couple, and that was the vaguest. So I was like, let's do this one.
Yeah. If you like going into movies completely blind as much as I do, this is a good one to do it
Yeah.
on. And like, I just see a name like Triangle, and I'm like, that could be anything.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna add it to a list and watch it someday without reading a single word about
Well,
it.
and you know what's
Like any one word title like that.
Yeah, you know what's funny is
I
that
gotta-
I knew nothing about it. And when I went to go look it up, I saw the thumbnail, which is just the main character, Melissa George, on a boat with an axe. And so I was thinking, oh, this must be like a Bermuda Triangle kind of thing. And then it ends up
Yeah.
not being that at all. Triangle is just the name of the yacht. So
Well, that's definitely like an intentional red
I
herring,
think so. I
right?
think it is. And I think there's probably some thematic connections to that idea. But yes, my initial thought was, okay, this is going to be some cool kind of Bermuda Triangle type thing. But yeah, okay, so
Because you don't really see those. Like, you don't see a lot of Bermuda Triangle movies, and there's so much cool stuff you could do with it.
yeah, definitely. I feel like there's also there's always the overlap of ghost ships and the ghost ships being
Mhm.
in Bermuda Triangle. I feel like, is there an X-Files episode about that?
Yeah.
Where they like go on the ship and they get taken back to
Um,
the 40s or something? I might be thinking about something else.
I know there's one where they're like on a ship and they get really old.
Yes, I remember that one. That was like a naval ship though. There was an episode I
Oh,
think where they
okay.
were on
There's a cruise
yeah,
liner
I think there's a
one.
cruise liner one, but I may not be thinking X-Files, I may be thinking a different series.
X-Files has done
Yeah.
everything, so.
Yes, so definitely this is a ripe area of subject matter. Kind of interesting that we don't have a ton of stuff, I guess, that explores it. But I thought this was going to be one of them, and it wasn't.
Yeah, nope. I guess we're just like off the coast of Florida
Yeah.
somewhere. So that's like vaguely in the area, I guess. You get those residual Bermuda Triangle vibes.
Yeah, the wavelength stretching out to the coast of Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we start off in the credits. We get our main character Jess, and she's like she's picking up after her son and like explaining nightmares to him. And then, like, we get into the actual movie, and suddenly her son is nowhere to be seen, and she,
Yeah.
like, finds a note that says Triangle Harbor, Greg.
Yeah. And there's the scene where she's explaining the nightmares to her son is where I sort of paid attention, and I felt like I missed something, but she's just hugging him and crying and saying it was just a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. So she's comforting for him for some reason, but she's upset about something, and then that just sort of poof goes away.
Yeah, because it's kind of just like a collection of unconnected scenes with
Yeah.
her and her son. So it's like you don't have any context for any of these.
Yeah.
But that is the one of them that stands out the most for sure. So we cut to the harbor and we meet Greg and we meet Greg's friends. Two of them are a couple he's known since childhood, Sally and Downey, which who the hell is named Downey?
I don't
It's not
know,
a
but
first name.
let me just say that the one thing that disappointed me about this movie right away is that every single one of these actors is Australian doing an American accent. And I was just like,
Yeah, and it's peeking
why?
out all over the place.
But just why? I mean, I don't know. Non-American accents are so cool. It doesn't matter where you're from. Just don't be from the United States. I'm sorry. I get it. It
Yeah,
took place off the coast of Florida, but it could have taken place off the coast of Sydney or whatever. Like, why? But I was very disappointed. I was like, all of them are Australian. I thought it was only like Liam Helmsworth and one other person. Melissa George I knew was Australian. But then I looked it up and I was like, dang, they're all Australian.
yeah, I thought it was funny that since there's a Korean comedy called Triangle from the same year, that this is listed as Triangle British Film. And then it's a
Oh,
bunch of Australians in Australia pretending to be Americans in America.
yeah. Oh, was this filmed in Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it even funnier.
It was
But
like, why didn't they just set it in
yeah,
Australia?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, maybe just to appeal to a wider audience. I really don't know. I don't know. I would have been all over this. But yeah, so that was the only thing that I immediately was like, everyone here is Australian and nobody is using their natural accent. Why?
Yeah, like I didn't look it up beforehand, but I just noticed like almost every character, little syllables would be slipping out. I was like, that doesn't sound very
It
American.
was occasional, but it was to me it felt like just a normal kind of uh, slipped pronunciation of a word. It didn't feel like, your accent mastery is falling at the wayside or something. It was like I didn't think anything too
Yeah.
deeply about it, but I don't know. I would have been
No, I just got like the Australian vibes here and
yeah,
there from like every character at
yeah.
like one
So
point.
that's why I think I assume that's where Downey comes from, right? It doesn't seem like it seems like it could be an Australian kind of thing or even a British name.
He comes from a land down under.
Yeah, exactly. But here he doesn't. Here he's from Florida.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then Downey and Sally have apparently taken on the task of finding a partner for Greg. And so every time they come on his ship, they bring a new person with them to introduce to him. And this time they've brought a very nice girl named Heather who seems very cool and immediately is like, FYI, I'm not interested. I kind of like the other guy who is Liam Hemsworth, and nobody blames her for that.
Yeah, it's funny. From certain angles, Liam looks like exactly like his brother, like circa Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But then from a straight on angle, he looks nothing like him.
I
It's really weird.
honestly can't tell them apart during the times when they were around the same age because I know that I believe Liam's the younger one, and so during like Hunger Games and stuff, I think he looked very different because at the time that was going on, Chris Hemsworth was doing Thor, and there was just a very strong contrast in the characters. So then I was like, they look nothing alike. But sometimes, if I see something where, like, for example, Cabin in the Woods, I do kind of think, oh, I can't really tell apart. And this too. But yeah.
Yeah, and they call him the boy, or at least that's what Heather
Yeah.
refers to him as.
Because
Like
they
I'm kind of
mention
into the boy.
because they mention the fact that he's only 18. And at the time this was filmed, I think he really was like 20. So he's supposed to be much younger than them. And the other actors are like in their late 20s, early 30s. So it doesn't really make sense because he's clearly like a strapping adult sized man. But just contextually, they're like, oh yeah, he's like 18 or whatever. So he's the boy.
Yeah, but I feel like it's also because apparently Greg just like found him and like adopted him as his same age man son.
Yeah.
He just like found him in a dumpster and he's like, "You're my son and first mate now.
Yeah.
Congratulations."
I mean, that seems like the kind of thing that like an ocean dweller would do. I mean, we've met whenever you take any kind of trip on the ocean or any kind of you go on any kind of little like mini adventure, you always meet someone who is like, "Oh, I'm here full time. This is my whole life." And they always have that kind of like fly by the seat of their pants feel to how they approach life. Like we took not a cruise, it was like a boat tour of I forget what that place is called. I think it's the Breakers in Rhode Island. And the guy who did the tour for us was like, "Yeah, I come into port every 6 months or so, and I do these tours just to make some money, and then for the rest of the time, I'm out at sea." And they just, like, do whatever, so it totally makes sense. It's definitely within that character's purview to be like, "Yeah, I found him, and he was just sleeping, and I was like, 'You wanna come be my first mate?' And he was like, 'Sure.'" It totally made sense to me.
All right. Well, anyway, so Jess shows up and it's so the boy's name is Victor. And Victor's the one who like goes and gets her and brings her to the ship. And Greg sees her and she's looking kind of distraught. And it's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No."
No, she's not. Yeah, and he's like, "Well, what happened?" And she gives him non-answers.
Yeah. And then like a little bit later, Victor will say, like, "I asked her, weren't you supposed to have your son? Where is he?" And she was like, "He's at school, but it's Saturday." And then Greg's like, "Well, he has special needs. His school's open every day." So there's immediately like this weird air about like where the hell did son go? Because we
Yeah.
haven't seen him since the opening credit and that random like collage of scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the collage of scenes is like he's painting 1 second, and then the next second she's cleaning up paint from the floor, so you just assume he spilled the paint, and then she hears the doorbell ring, gets up to go answer the door, and nobody's there. And that's just another thing that's given to us and ignored. So then we're back on the boat and we're like, "Okay, I don't know what's happened with your son. I don't know what happened at your house. I'm not sure how you're doing right now." And you getting the feeling that something bad has happened and she's like traumatized from it.
Yeah, she's acting like despondent.
Yeah.
And Greg's like doesn't seem concerned enough about it. Like she's acting really weird.
Yeah. So I got the impression we learned later that she and Greg met because she is a waitress at a diner and he occasionally will go to the diner to see her. And the last time that he went to see her, he invited her out to his boat. But he apparently knows enough about her to not really question her being in this mood. So maybe, she has a hard life and she's tired and exhausted all the time. And so this is not out of the ordinary for him, or he's overlooking something obvious, right? No idea. But he seems to know her pretty
Yeah.
well. And it's vague, but maybe suggested that she's like a romantic interest. It's not clear if the feelings are reciprocated. It's vague at this point and it's muddy. So you're just like, okay, he's her friend. He invited her to this boat and she's being real weird right now.
Yeah. Greg's friend circle is a homeless teenager, a waitress, and two yuppies.
Yeah. That sounds about right for that kind of lifestyle though, I'm telling you.
Hard to make it work though. Like these
Yeah.
groups are not really going together.
Yeah. Cause he's like, "This is someone I met sleeping behind a grocery store. These people I've known since I was in high school, and this girl I met because I got hungry one day."
Yeah. And you can tell like Downey and Sally are pretty like stuck up. So they probably all went to like some rich high school.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing if their attitude is any indication of where Greg comes from, he probably was rich. So you
Yeah.
know, he's got his own like perspective on things, and it's not I live day to day scavenging for food. But I don't know. He seemed like a cool dude though, so I didn't think too much about it. But I was like, what is wrong with her? Can we get to that, please? And we don't for a while.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I pretty much guessed what was wrong with her based on the circumstances. So I wasn't too upset that we don't like get an answer for a long
Wait,
time.
what did you guess was wrong with her?
The mysterious circumstances around her son.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I was she okay, so one of the things she does when they are on the boat is she goes and takes a nap, and then she like
Oh
has
yeah,
a
and then she has a
dream.
nightmare.
Yeah, she has a nightmare. And in the nightmare you get a shot of what looks like it could be her face, but it's only like her eye. And the skin looks kind of like blue and tepid. And so you're like, oh, snap, is she having a nightmare of herself dead? And then she wakes up. And so there's just some stuff going on that is not, maybe you can chalk it up to whatever demise you think happened to her son at this point. And I guess I sort of guessed that too.
Yeah, so she talks to Heather at this point, and then Heather goes on to talk to Sally, and she's like empathizing with Jess about like her autistic son and stuff. And then Sally's like, "What? So you want me to feel bad because he's got a retarded son, or what?" And
And
and then
Heather's
Heather's
like,
like, "Yeah."
yes.
And you're kind of like, Heather, why are you friends with Sally?
Yeah.
She seems a little toxic for you.
Yeah. And she was like, no, I like her. And she's like, okay, well, send her over to me. I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Sally's all concerned because somehow Jess is like hitting it off with Greg, even though she's like in and out of being catatonic.
yeah. Well, he seems connected. He
But
seems
they're hitting
connected.
it off, and Sally does not like that. She thinks she's like a gold digger or something.
Yeah, which implies, right, that this is just some little hobby of his and he's probably actually pretty wealthy. Like I was like, what do
Well, he has a
you
yacht. He has to be wealthy.
I mean, he could just be somebody who just like goes out sailing and lives on his boat, right? Like I wasn't sure if that was
I got the impression he was well off.
well, either way, it's a very awkward point for her to have made because it just didn't seem like that was just coming out of left field. She's like, well, she's somebody I don't know, so obviously she just wants him for his money.
Yeah, well, she did just show up and give like crazy weird vibes with no explanation.
That's true.
So she is kind of just putting everyone off immediately.
Yeah. And so Heather is like, hey, why didn't you come over, Jess? Because Sally wants to talk to you. And right as that happens, they stand up and look out at the horizon.
Yeah. So first the wind stops, and it's like the wind dropped. He's like, it didn't drop, it stopped. He's like, I've seen it, but never this quick. And then like the blackest cloud ever rolls in, and Downey's like, is that normal?
Yeah.
So
And I don't know.
at this point, they what were you gonna
I was
say?
to say, I don't know anything about ocean life. I don't know what's normal. I was like, is this normal? Are you guys gonna get out of this? Or is this like worst case scenario? Like I mean, it looks pretty bad, but I'm thinking maybe Greg's gonna be like, it'll be fine. We'll just sit here until it passes. But no, he freaks the fuck out and he's like, everybody get underneath and we're gonna try to steer us out of it. I couldn't tell what their plan was.
Well, first he radios like the Coast Guard,
Right, that's right, because
and he's asking them like about the storm, and they're like, "We got nothing on our radar."
right.
And then cutting in to this like two-way broadcast, you hear like a lady being like, "She's trying to kill us all. They're all dead."
Yeah.
And I like immediately guessed what that was.
Yeah, I did immediately guess what that was. I was like, it's clearly one of the women on your boat. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of them. It
Yeah.
felt very much like you guys are about to go into a system that is not going to let you out pretty easily. So there were definitely some giveaways about like how this was heading, but I was kind of like, what is the thing with this storm? I guess it comes out of nowhere and it starts with like a total dead calm, and then boom, storm hits.
Yeah. And then like immediately they're capsized. And then almost just as fast the storm stops.
Yeah. And also, just as quickly, Heather dies. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
what?
well, technically we don't know. She's like sucked out of the window and out of this movie entirely, and
Yeah.
we will never see her again.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. She gets sucked through.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And meanwhile, the boat capsizes and every other person swims to the top. So you're like, okay, they all got out. What happened to her?
Yeah,
Nobody knows. But she becomes this point of reference for them to keep
yeah,
searching and keep trying to find where she could have possibly gone, no matter how improbable.
yeah. So they're not even like stranded for that long before a giant cruise liner rolls in.
Yeah. And they
And
all
it's what's the name of it?
yeah,
Aeolus?
the Aeolus, and they are waving and they all say they saw someone. And for the life of me, I could not see a person on that ship. They're like, there they are
Yeah,
again.
there's a
I
person.
could not see a person. I was like, I just trust they saw somebody, whatever. So they pull up to the side and they get on, they go up some stairs, and they are on this boat. And yeah, I don't know. I was like, okay, I guess sure. There's just
Yeah,
stairs on the side of the cruise ship and you just jump on if you're in the water.
yeah. So the fact that they saw someone and then were boarding the boat, I assumed they were let
That's
on.
what I
But then
assumed.
we immediately find out, no, they can't find anyone. They couldn't even find the person they saw. So it's like, I don't really know how they boarded. I don't think you can do that.
I
And how would you even get close enough on a capsized yacht, like
don't know.
when it's just going forward
Yeah.
and you can't move your yacht at
I have
all?
no idea. Somehow they make it towards the ship and they make it towards these stairs. And I thought it was gonna have to be like a ladder that they let down, but no, it's just a regular it's a regular
Yeah.
set of stairs and they climb on up. So really nothing's stopping them from getting on this boat except momentum.
Yeah. So they get on and they're like wandering the halls and there's no one. And they discover the like namesake of the ship is for the father of Sisyphus. And we'll hear this twice because it's significant.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And so Aeolus is the god of wind. And that
oh, okay.
makes
I didn't know
sense.
that.
Yeah, I actually did know that. And Aeolus is the god of wind, and it makes sense because you know you want wind while you're sailing, while you're on the sea, because the wind is what moves you. I don't think it really matters for a cruise ship because it's got an engine, right? But in theory, that's what it invokes. And so it's kind of this interesting extra layer that Sisyphus is pulled into this because I actually don't know if he was a god or like a demigod or whatever, but the theory behind the story behind Sisyphus, the myth, is that he's this tragic figure who's doomed to push this rock up a hill forever, and then once he gets to the top, the hill rolls back down. It's almost like it always reminds me of not Icarus, the other one, the one who gave fire to people, and I can't Prometheus. Sisyphus
Yep.
always reminds me of Prometheus because Prometheus is nailed to the top of the mountain and has the bird eat his liver out every day, and then it regrows overnight, and the bird comes out and comes back and like eats again. And so it kind of it reminds me of that because it's that like repetitive punishment that is like never ending and like constant.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
initially,
very similar.
we hear the story and it's just like, okay, great, whatever, some mythology stuff, blah blah blah, and you just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
And then we move on.
Well, Sally like demands you ignore
Yeah.
it. She's like, yeah, whatever. He like cheated death or whatever. Let's go.
Yeah. And then what is happening
Oh,
is they keep on seeing a person out of like the corner of their eye just like flip by. And they're like, we know someone else is here. But then some of them are like, no, this is an abandoned ship. No one's here. So there's kind of this like struggle, this
yeah.
tension between, are there other people here? Are there not other people here?
And I wrote nothing in this ship but Scooby-Doo hallways.
Yeah. So
The hallways all like intersect like they're Scooby-Doo hallways.
yeah, before it starts doing that, there is like kind of a seminal shot of like the hallway, and it looks so much like the hallway from The Shining. which is very
Yeah.
funny because I thought of that. And in the like literally in the next shot, Greg knocks on room 237.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? Are we is this a Shining like am I now supposed to be watching for like Shining references? Because I've somehow stumbled on two of them in the past like 5 minutes. But I thought it was really kind of funny. But yeah,
And then
Scooby Doo
the
for sure.
wallpaper in that room also looks like the Shining
Yeah,
like carpet.
yeah. So a lot of references to that, and I don't know, thematically maybe it makes sense. Uh, Definitely the idea of like ghosts on a ship or whatever.
When they spot one of those people running off, they go to that location, they find Jess's keys,
Yes.
and they're like, how the hell could this be here? And so Sally's like, it must be Heather. It's the only explanation. Heather somehow beat us onto the ship and dropped those keys and ran away. And I think it's like Downey's like, do you know how stupid that sounds?
Yeah.
Like, why would she do that?
Yeah.
And then Greg is also just convinced, like, God, the cruise liner people are just fucking with us. They thought they'd rescue us and then they'd all hide and they're all just fucking with us.
Yeah.
It's a prank, bruh.
Meanwhile, Jess is like, I have seen this before. I've been here before. This is all a weird deja vu experience for me. And Greg is not having it. He's like, you just feel stressed. You just feel guilt. You just feel sad about missing your son. And it's just like one thing after the other. But she's very sure that she's seen all of this before, the hallways, the corridors, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, ships have captains, Jess. I don't know about in your world. And she's like, my world is waiting at school for me to pick him up.
Yeah. So then you're like, okay, I guess maybe he is at school. Maybe she wasn't bullshitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah, she does kind of sell it with that line, but she has not sounded sure about anything up until that point, so I'm still not convinced.
yes, it's true.
So they see go to theater written in like blood on the mirror, and it looks like they're like goopy window cling
Yeah.
blood for like Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, so then they head to the theater. Somehow they get split up though.
Greg like ran off after whoever they saw, and then just went with them, but told Downey and Sally to stay behind and wait for Victor,
Right.
who ran off earlier.
And Victor ran off because he also heard or saw someone run in a different direction. Right.
Yeah. And then at this point, Downey and Sally are heading to the theater, and we don't know why, because it was Greg and Jess
Who
who
saw
saw the go to theater
exactly.
thing, and they never told the other two. So we're like, wait,
Why are they going to the theater?
what happened? It was the other two who were going to the theater, but now these two are.
Yeah. So they're headed to the theater. Meanwhile, Jess is still in that like dining area, and Victor comes stumbling in and he's all bloodied. And she's like,
Yeah.
whoa, what happened to you? And he immediately lunges at her and starts trying to strangle her. And so it was
Yeah.
just like, whoa, why is this happening? And no explanation, but holy crap, does she respond? She was just like, this is not going to happen the way you think it is. And she like slams him to the side. I have to say that one of the things I
Well-
noticed in this movie
Well,
is
he has a hole in the back of his head, and she like got her hands on his head. She like puts her finger
right,
in.
but she didn't. Yeah, but she didn't know that immediately. She was like, "What is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an injury!" Bah, and she sticks her finger in it. Like she was very quick on her feet, and there are a bunch of parts where she was extremely scrappy, and I was not expecting it. So
Yeah.
good on her for being so like in the moment. I'm getting myself out of this, because she was very good at that.
That was so creepy because
Yeah.
like you don't know what's wrong with him, and then you see like this hole in his head, and then you realize it like goes all the way to his brain when she kills
Yeah,
him.
and you were
And
like,
she doesn't even mean
yeah,
to.
and you're like, what? How did this happen? He was just running down the hallway. He was totally fine, and then he comes back out, and he's just like messed up. It's awful. But she gets out of it, and then is like, I have to go find the other. So she heads to the theater.
Well, I think she hears the gunshot,
That's right.
right?
That's right. She hears the gunshot. she goes to the theater and finds Sally and Downey huddled around Greg, who's been shot, and they are pissed at her because before he like took his last breath, he was like, check the text, it was Jess. So yeah, so they're like, you shot him, he said it was you, and she's like, the fuck, no I did not.
Yeah, and what was interesting about this is no guns were introduced in this movie at all up until this point.
Right.
So we just hear a gunshot and then Greg is like fatally shot.
Yeah.
And that caught me off guard because usually the gun is introduced.
Yes.
Like it's the whole Chekhov's gun thing, right? So it's like the reverse.
Yeah.
It's like the gun came out of nowhere.
And you know what else happened? When they go on the boat, there is a shot of all of these dangling hooks. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh God, someone's going to get strung up on one of these dangling hooks. Because it just felt like the kind of thing it was showing intentionally as like, this is the future sight of like something gruesome. So I was expecting that to happen, and that didn't happen either. In fact, how Victor is ultimately killed really came out of left field. So that was something I was impressed with. Like, I was impressed with the amount of misdirection I think there was in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hear a gun. We're like, the
Okay,
fuck, who the hell is a gun?
Yeah. And then as she's like trying to defend herself, someone from up top in the theater just starts shooting away.
Yeah.
And Downey and Sally are both hit, and then Downey gets shot a second time and dies.
Yeah. And Sally is like kind of clutching her injury, making her way out. I actually don't remember if this is what I'm thinking. I think I might have it out of order. Does Sally survive, or she is killed at this point?
I think she survives this one.
Okay.
Yeah, she survives for now.
Okay.
And then so the person who was shooting shows up and they have like a sack on their head, like Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that at all,
I
but
am.
yeah, it's like that exact burlap sack mask.
Yeah.
And she's got a shotgun, and she comes at Jess with the shotgun, and Jess fights her off.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have a kid, please. So she hesitates, and then she fights him off, and then she grabs an axe, and then she's fighting Sackhead, who has a crowbar.
Yeah. She's doing a damn
And
good
they're
job
fighting.
too.
Yeah, Jess is kicking some ass and got Sackhead on the ropes.
Yeah.
And Sackhead, in a voice that sounds mysteriously like Jess, says, kill them all, you have to kill them all.
It's the only way. It's the only way to go
the ship.
home.
I don't think she says that yet.
No, she does. That's the first one she says. She says it's the only way to go home.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. She says you have to kill them all. It's the only way to go home, and then she falls off the boat. And also, Sally does
okay.
die because right after this, Jess is standing there like, what the hell just happened? And then she sees the yacht come up. Because Sally's already...
But-
Sorry, Delary.
This is not when Jess understands the cycle.
No, she doesn't understand the cycle.
Because this Sally has crawled off screen. We didn't see her die.
Okay.
She escaped and has now succumbed
Okay.
off screen, but we didn't see it.
Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. She does crawl off. Okay. But at this point, the yacht comes up, and Jess is like, my mind is blown. She has no idea what's going on.
Well, first she hears a record player playing.
Oh, yeah. What was that about?
And she follows it up into a cabin. She hears the record player. She walks up to it and she starts the record over.
Yeah.
And she looks in the mirror. And then she hears the yacht pull up and the record skips. And then the movie skips.
Oh. I saw it.
Did you catch that?
I saw a few times where it skipped. It wasn't just like one skip. She turns around and there's a skip, and then she turns back and there's another skip. The music skips. It happens a few times in this scene. Then she looks back at the record player, and it started anchors away again. And so then she goes outside and hears the yacht.
Yeah.
But then, so then she stands back and essentially watches the events that we just watched play out again, up to when Vic is running down the hallway.
Yeah. Yeah, she basically runs straight to where Victor will end up.
Right. So she goes to intercept him to basically be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, here's what's been happening."
Yeah. And so she's like hiding like in the corner, so he opens the door and he doesn't even see her.
Yeah.
And then this scene repeats weirdly. Like we see Victor cross through this door twice for some
Yeah.
reason.
But also, there are a few things set up while her sort of backtracking through the first part of the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, there
There's a
are.
few things set up so you see, oh, the person they saw earlier was her. Um, or
Yeah.
she sees,
Yeah,
uh,
like she drops her own
she drops
keys,
her
I
own
think,
keys,
and
right?
she's spying on them and she gets caught, she gets seen by the new Jess
Right.
and runs
And
away.
it's interesting too because are those the keys she originally had, or are those the keys that she found when she was on the ship? Where did the keys come from? Like that's a crazy idea. Um, did she
Mhm.
have those keys because they found it when they got to the ship, or did she bring them onto the ship? We'll never know. It's insane. But yeah, so there are a few things where you're like, oh, that's who they saw earlier. She drops her keys, but then also when they're standing in the ballroom where the food is set out, um, she turns at one point and sees something in the corner of her eye and is like, oh, there's a person over there, and it's her that she sees run away. And
Yeah.
I can't decide if she realizes I'm the one that they've been seeing and starts to kind of insert that a little bit to say I was standing here and so I should stand here and like peek out. I don't know. I can't decide if that went through her head at all. But yeah, so
Yeah.
we see
It's
all of
her.
it repeat through her perspective as the outsider now until she runs into Vic.
Yeah, yeah. So from Vic's perspective, she basically teleports behind him because he expects her to be like 100 feet back that way, and he crosses this door and he's right over his shoulder.
Right.
And then she just starts spouting off, like, from his perspective, insane
It is
gibberish.
insane. They're all
Like,
dead. They're all dead. And you're like, he's like, who's dead? We
yeah,
literally
you're
just
dead with
got
a hole in
here.
the head in the kitchen. And then she points out to these seagulls and she's like, that's Downey's body. And she throws an apple and it's nothing
Yeah. Because when she was
because she
standing
saw that it
there,
was Downey's body
yeah, when
earlier.
she was standing there, she looked over and saw the seagulls like eating what I guess was a body because when we looked at it, I was like, okay, it looks like a body, but who is it? And then she says it's Downey. And I'm like, I guess that's who it was. But then you're also in the back of your mind, like, how did Downey's body get out there? So that's like another question that's kind of set up, um, which was
Yeah.
really crazy.
And there's a lot of that going on. Like every time they answer a question, they ask another one.
Yeah. And then you're like, "Wait, what? How does that fit in?" There's, like, little pieces of the puzzle kind of added. So then she's talking at him, all this crazy stuff, and somehow
Yeah.
she pushes him against the wall, and there happens to be a spoke of some kind just jutting out from the wall. Is this a real thing on cruise ships?
Yeah,
That
like
seems insanely dangerous.
a big old bowl. I wouldn't even doubt it.
Oh my
They have
god.
insanely dangerous things
It
on
was
cruise ships for no
insanely
reason.
dangerous, like, when I looked at that, I was like, "There's a couple of them hanging on that wall too," so that could have happened to anybody who was between the height of 6'0" and 6'4", like, what in the world? So she pushes him, and apparently it's
But
enough
also,
force that it punctures the back of his head.
Jess is strong
No
as
kidding.
fuck.
Yeah, she is.
Like, this is not a small guy. Like, she just manhandled this,
Yeah. But at
like, guy in his
But at the
prime.
same time, he was giving her no resistance. He didn't expect her to do that. So she catches him completely off guard.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying the force and the amount of weight he has that she has to force onto that like bolt thing
Yeah.
in order because it goes she makes a hole to his brain as
Yeah.
we found out earlier and are now connecting the dots too.
Yeah. So then she realizes, "Oh shit, this is the thing that caused that injury." Like you can see her putting the clues together and he stumbles away and she's like, "No, no, no, I'm going to help you."
No, I think she panics and takes off. That the other
Okay.
you're talking about a scene later.
Okay. So she panics and takes off. And at this point, at this point, she runs back to the theater because she's like, this is where they're going to be. And this is what happens with Greg. She gets there.
No, I think at this point she has like a breakdown and she finds like I think scraps of paper that says kill them all, and then she writes it down and it's exactly the
Yeah. Why
same.
did she have to test her
And
own
then
handwriting? I was wondering about that. Like,
I don't
is that
it's not that it's to test her if it's her handwriting, it's to test if it's exactly the same. Because if you write the same thing twice, it'll be the same handwriting, but it won't be exact.
oh,
And I think hers is like as if it came off of a printer.
okay.
Exact,
So it's that
every
moment.
notch
So
exact.
it's that moment of her writing it repeated.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I just would have seen it and
And
been like, this is all my handwriting. I did all of this. But that's interesting.
well, my handwriting, like if I did that, I would know immediately because my handwriting varies so much. Like if I
Yeah.
was in her position, I'd be like, whoa, I just did it the exact same way twice. No.
Yeah.
And then she something happens and she like finds like a grate with just a million of her
She
locket in it.
yeah,
And
she's
then her
just
locket gets
leaning
caught and drops into it.
she's leaning over
I
kind
forget why she
of
leans down there
it's
though.
because
But
she
she
just
sees all the
yeah,
lockets.
it's just because she leans over and happens to be like she's on the ground already and she sees something wrapped around the grate and she realizes that it's like a piece of jewelry or something gold. She goes to unravel it and realizes it's her locket and then notices in the background underneath there's a whole pile of those lockets. And then as she leans over, her own locket falls off and lands in that pile. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and then at this point she is like, oh shit, I gotta go to the theater. And she runs to the theater and she finds Sally and Greg, Sally and Downey comforting Greg. And again, they go through the whole, you did this. Oh my God, you're crazy. And someone starts shooting and she's like, let's go, and pulls them out. So this time she saves them.
Well, there's a part before that where she finds a shotgun
That's
like
right.
right after
She,
that locket
yeah,
scene,
she
and
gets a
she
gun.
finds herself and she pulls a shotgun on herself and she says, "You're not me," and like she's thinking about killing herself, but then she lowers the gun and the other just runs off.
Right. Because that's the one who just came on the ship from the yacht.
Yeah. And then I think didn't Victor also witness that, or is that
Yes.
later?
Yes, Victor witnesses that. He comes in and then she's like, look, it's different this time. Remember the first time you came in here, you tried to strangle me. It's different, so I can save you. And so then
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going to save you. And then, yeah, I guess at this point she runs to the theater and this time she's got the gun and they're like, okay, don't shoot us. And she's like, I'm not going to shoot you. Please, let's
Yeah.
go. And then she's like, wait, duck, and just yanks them out of the trajectory point of the bullet that is coming their way.
Yeah.
And so she pulls them both out and is like, okay, I don't know what her goal is at this point, but she hands Downey the gun and is like, don't trust anyone. I'm like, okay, there are
I
no
know.
conditions on that statement. What if you come back? Or what if, I don't know. But she does get a shot off and she injures the person who was wearing the burlap sack. And so she's like, I think I hit her. And I guess she's going to look for her. I'm not really sure. But she gives Downey the gun and is like, don't trust anybody. If anyone comes through here, shoot them. And so I was like, okay, that's not a very
Yeah.
good plan, but whatever. So then she goes looking around, and I'm not sure why she's doing this.
Was she going to get Victor maybe?
Oh, that's right. And when she shows up, he's gone. And she's trying to figure out where he went.
Yeah. And then so in the meantime, like another Sally shows up and intercepts.
Right. Well, because at this point,
I
at
mean,
this
another
point,
just shows up and intercepts Sally and Downey.
yeah, at this point there are basically three, right? There's the new one who just came off the
Yes.
yacht. There's Jess that we've seen, like I think of it as like Jess Prime, the one who we've been following, and
Yeah, our
then
Jess.
yeah,
I would
our
call it
Jess,
our
and
Jess.
then the Jess who's got the burlap sack on, which we realize is
Yeah.
got the burlap sack on. But it's
But
another
Jess
one.
apparently doesn't realize it
She doesn't
yet.
realize it yet, but it's another one because originally the one that had the burlap sack is the one that fell over the boat. So there's another one that has a burlap sack on that is running
Yeah.
around shooting them. And I don't know if it was clear where this one came from. Because it
Well,
sounds like there
so
would have been
here's what I
two.
figured out. There's 3 Jesses at all times because there's like the fresh Jess has a cardigan on.
Right.
This is the Jess who hasn't witnessed any murders
Right.
yet.
And the necklace.
And then she loses that stuff. This is the has witnessed death Jess, which is the main Jess we follow. He's like her in a tank top.
Right.
And then when she becomes Sackhead, she has a jacket on.
Right.
So there's the Jess who is being hunted. There's the Jess doing the hunting, and then there's the one who is spared by the other Jess.
Right.
So there's always like at least 3 Jesses.
Right. And there are also 2 separate trajectories. I noticed that too. There's one trajectory.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Well, two loops that replay at the same time, because
Yeah.
the Jess, I think the burlap sack Jess and newcomer Jess, their storylines overlap. But then our Jess and 2 before her, their storylines overlap because she
Yeah.
ends up pushing the one that the first Sackhead off the boat. So there are always 3 on the boat, but there are 2 trajectories that overlap twice, and one of them is always gone because the other one kills them. And then at some point she sees the new Jess killing the Jess with the burlap sack. So now those 2 are comes down to 2, and then everything shifts over, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always 3, except for when one was freshly killed, and then a new one will show up like immediately after.
Right. But I think what I was thinking is that when she originally comes on the boat, there is if we think about it as like the new Jess and then our Jess and then Sackhead Jess. There's Sackhead Jess 1 and Sackhead Jess 2. And Sackhead Jess,
Well, yeah, because
1
every Jess will become
that Sackhead.
Sackhead Jess.
Yeah. And so when she first gets on the boat, it's just her and Sackhead Jess. Wait, no, that can't be
No.
right. It's got to be her and the Sackhead.
No, when she gets on the boat, right? She's got a cardigan on, right?
Yeah. And it's her.
There's also a Jess on that ship currently in a tank top, and there's
running
also
around.
one in a coat and a
Okay.
Sackhead.
Okay. So then when she gets
Yeah,
on.
the one in the tank top is the one they keep seeing about. The one with the jacket is the one who shoots them on sight.
Right. And.
So they're seeing 2 Jesses around.
Right. So when she first gets on the boat, her trajectory is with the first one who's already got the sack on her head. And when she pushes that one off the boat, the one in the tank top that had been running around had already become the one with the jacket and the sack, and was then shooting at everyone. And so now she is trying to help the new people that just came in, trying to figure out a way to like break this loop. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just beat this game, and at the end it says it's not a loop, it's a spiral, and you have to play the whole game again to get like the real ending.
oh my
So
god.
this whole time I'm thinking, is this a time spiral rather than a loop? Because I noticed like the differences and how it couldn't be just one loop.
Yeah.
It's like, is it a spiral?
Yeah, see, I just sort of thought, okay, there's got to be 2 paths happening right now, and those 2 paths repeat, and they have to continuously repeat. So that was the thing I kept in my head. I didn't really map it all out perfectly, but I did think, okay, there's going to be one Jess that pushes the Sackhead off the boat, and there's going to be one Jess that kills it. So she sees
Yeah.
the cardigan Jess kill the Sackhead Jess,
Yeah.
and then somehow that pushes her over.
Well, this is when she realizes that when the final person dies, the loop starts over again. So
Right.
she's like, okay, I just have to kill everyone here, and then I can stop the next people
Right.
from ever getting on the ship.
Right.
But I'm like, why don't you just run out right now and be like, the ship is full of evil
Don't come
doppelgangers,
on
go
here.
away,
Yeah. I was
woo!
wondering that too. Why doesn't she just warn them off and say, don't come on the ship? I mean, if you ran down those
Yeah,
stairs as yourself and said, don't come on the ship, don't you think they would be like, whoa, that's freaky? And be like, yeah, okay, we're not going
yeah,
on the ship. I'm not going on the ship with my doppelganger. That's nuts. You're asking to be
exactly.
You're asking to be God. No thanks. What we did skip though is that before the newcomer Jess with the cardigan kills the Jess with the sackhead Jess ends up stabbing Downey and Sally. And Downey dies
Oh, yeah.
in room 237, and Sally slinks away, and our Jess follows her to the upper deck where we see repeats of Sally's body, like just copies of her, dozens of copies of this dead body just strewn about this deck. And Sally, who is equal parts freaking out because she's afraid of Jess, and also equal parts probably freaking out because she's surrounded by copies of her own dead self, is succumbing to her injuries. And that poor girl, I was so sad for her.
Yeah, I wrote Sally crawls off to the Sally pit and
She
dies.
did. That's exactly what happened. And I think that's probably when she makes her decision to put on the burlap sack, because at that point she pushes Downey, she drags Downey outside, the one who had been stabbed,
Yeah,
and pushes him over the boat. And that's the body she saw earlier when she was like, Downey, he's in the water. And we were like, how did he get there? That's how he got there. And then she does something with Greg's body too, and I don't know where it was. But there are points in the beginning where they were like, there's blood on the floor. Where did this come from? So the assumption here is that the blood is just from all of these events, and they have been happening over and over again. So, who knows whose blood it is. But yeah, she drags Greg somewhere. I don't know if that we saw that.
well, I assumed it was Victor's blood because he's like, well, he's the first injury
That's
we
right.
see after that. And also, he's just got a massive gaping wound in the back of his head that must be splurting blood.
Yeah.
And he walks from outside all the way back to the like dining room.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was him.
Yeah. But she starts prepping the whole ship for the next set of people. Meanwhile,
Oh, and we didn't mention that before Sally died in the Sally pile, she made the call
oh, that's
that
right.
loops back to the beginning.
Yeah, she got into like some broad radio room and made that call saying she's killing us all. We need help. And you can hear Greg from the beginning saying, distress caller, we hear you. Tell us your location. So that kind of resolved that, and that was kind of nice.
Yeah, and I wrote Black Phone 2 call loop
Yeah.
because I was reminded of, remember you get the call
From
and then
the-
later you find out it's her.
Yeah. No, that was
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so then so now she starts to prep the ship.
Oh,
Wait.
I also wrote in the Sally pile scene, she's explaining to Sally like, that wasn't me who hurt you. I'm sorry about all this. And she's like, you're crazy. She still doesn't believe her while she's in a pile of her own body.
Yeah.
Like, she's still like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, you're in a pile of you. How is anything crazier than that?
Yeah. No,
Sorry, I just had to go back.
No,
to
you're
that.
right about that, and that was actually a little bit of a frustration point for me as well, because Jess keeps on saying I didn't do it instead of saying that is another version of me and I'm not doing the things that person's doing. She never quite makes that distinction. She simply says I'm not doing this. It isn't me. Like, at least acknowledge that it is you. It's just a different version of you, and you aren't the exact person committing these acts. But you can't look a person who has seen your face in the eye and say it wasn't me, because that doesn't make sense to them. Like, you have to say, I know you saw a person with my face doing this thing, but I am different than that person, and here's how. You know, other it just
Hey,
was insane to me.
it worked for Jordan and Bodies, didn't it?
I didn't do it. I didn't shoot you. I did not shoot you. Yeah, look him in the face and say it was not me.
Works every time.
It works every time. Yeah, so that was the thing I was like, I understand this. I mean, there's the theme is there, right? I am myself, me, and a copy of me is not the same as me, because she looks herself in the face at one point is like, you are not me. And it's like, but she kind of is, right? But I get it.
Yeah.
What she's telling Sally, I'm not the one who shot you. I'm not the one who stabbed you or whatever. I understand how she feels like this. I'm not responsible for this, but like at least say, I know that your trauma is stemming from the fact that someone who looked exactly like me has hurt you, but I promise you I'm a safe person or something. I don't know. She just pushes the idea out of everyone's head, or she's trying to, that it definitely wasn't me. It looked like me, but it wasn't me. I don't know. It just doesn't really work when the person is literally you. And at this point she knows that it is her. She's not thinking like, oh, it's just someone who looks like she knows it's her. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Sally is in all kinds of denial. Like, you're laying in a pit of your own dead bodies. How are you still thinking she's crazy? So yeah. Then at this point,
So our Jess becomes Sackhead Jess.
yeah,
And where
our
the hell did
Jess
she get this
becomes-
mask?
she goes into the armory and she finds a sack and she starts to fill it with bullets. But then she somehow makes the connection that, oh, this is the sack that I saw on that person's head. Like, she just has she has an epiphany at some point and is like, oh, this is the thing that I had on my head. So she dumps the bullets out, which is
Well,
kind of
the
like,
first
okay.
time she must have just been like, wow, this would fit perfectly on my head somehow.
Yeah.
The first Jess that didn't have a reference.
Yeah. So now she's watching, and you get the impression that she's sort of resigned to killing them all so that she can somehow make it home. And she's now watching herself play the role of Tank Top Jess and have had the experience once so far and is now living it again and watching herself as newcomer Jess. So she is now Jess 3, looking at the other two. And I can't decide if she intends to do it differently or if she's just like, nope, they have to die.
Well,
I
she
don't know.
says something like to the effect of that she's resigned to, I have to
Just-
kill them all.
Just do it. Yeah. So she goes out with the shotgun, and the first one she sees is Greg. And this is where we're like, tell me, when did she shoot him? And this is where it happens.
Yeah, we finally see it. And man, one of my biggest complaints about this movie is just Greg gets taken out. Like, he gets shot, he basically is out of the movie until this
Yeah.
point. And then he gets like one more scene. But Greg
Yeah.
seemed like such a good character. I don't know why
liked
they were
him.
so quick to kill him. Like him and Heather both,
And Heather.
actually.
Yeah, I liked Heather and I liked Greg, and they were killed right away. But that's kind of, I think that's kind of along with the motif of the movie of like, you just can't expect things to go the way you would normally expect them. But then a lot of things did sort of go the way you were expecting, right? So it was kind
Yeah.
of a lot of misdirection, and that being one of them, that likable characters got killed immediately. But Greg, being the smart guy he is, notices her shoes because she approaches him with the burlap sack on her head and the thing, and he thinks, oh, this is just some random guy from the ship trying to kill me. Maybe I, overstepped. And he's like, we could just leave. Sorry, guy. But then he sees her shoes and he's relieved because he knows it's her and tries to reason with her.
And she doesn't want to do it, but she does. And she
Yep.
shoots him in the chest and he tumbles over and lands
The
in the spot
balcony.
where we saw him dead earlier.
Right. And you know that this is the path where she shoots freely at them and her other self doesn't have a gun to shoot back at her. So we know that this is the path
Yeah.
we know that this is the path where she ends up being pushed off the ship and not the path where she gets
Wait, how does
killed.
the other one get killed?
there's a part where she looks out over where she originally had the argument and pushes herself, or she pushes the one with the burlap sack overboard. But this time when she looks over, she sees her stabbing her and like killing her. So she's like, okay, so she just killed
Oh,
that
okay.
one. And yeah, so that's why I was saying there are two trajectories. There's a trajectory where the burlap
Oh, well,
sack
yeah, I noticed there was two
gets pushed
trajectories because
off.
one gets a gun pointed at her face by herself and the other doesn't.
Exactly.
Like our Jess
So,
never has a gun in her own face by that Jess. So I knew it was there were
right.
multiple cycles from that
And
and a couple
that's,
other things.
yeah. And so in the trajectory where she points the gun at herself, that's where she ends up killing herself. And that's probably because she pointed a gun in her own face. Because that's the Jess who ends up killing the burlap sack one. And knowing the character that we know, that girl was probably like, this bitch is not playing. I have to kill her or she's gonna kill me. So it makes sense that she kind of put that idea in her head for that path. But she ends up killing them with the
Yeah.
burlap sack. So in this path, in this trajectory, we know she's gonna get pushed off of the boat because she shoots freely down into the theater and she doesn't have the gun yet to shoot back at her. So she kills them in the theater and
Yeah.
she's not the one, she's not the burlap sack version of herself that stabs them in room
Yeah.
237.
Yeah, because she kills Downey right here. And
Yeah,
then
Downey
she like
dies immediately here.
mortally wounds Sally so Sally can crawl off to the Sally pile.
Right. Which we know happened after the fact. Now we know that's what happened to Sally. She just crawled up to the
Yeah.
deck.
So yeah, she continues she kills everyone and gets to herself, and then she has her final girl chase with herself. And
Mhm.
we've seen this earlier that she like throws like I don't know, like a valve or something to distract the person pursuing her. But now we see it from this perspective where it's like, yeah, she knows she's gonna throw that, so she's not gonna be distracted by that.
Right. And
She
the
already knows what's happening.
exactly, and the first time she does it, you're thinking, "Okay, she's gonna give herself she's buying some time for herself so she can run," but then you're like, "Oh, no, the person's still right on top of her. How?" And that's how.
Yeah,
It's because she knows that it's just a distraction. Because she listens, she turns, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, that's when I threw that thing," and then continues to pursue her.
oh, I wrote Dark Jess throws the shotgun at regular Jess. She just
Yeah,
throws the
yeah.
shotgun at
Well,
her. It was
no,
really
but that's
funny.
not regular Jess. Regular Jess is in the has the burlap sack on now. Our Jess is gone
Well,
full.
our Jess, but our Jess is Dark
Mhm.
Jess now.
Okay, yeah.
I
Our Jess is
mean,
dark Jess now, and the other Jess is scrappy as all hell. She's fighting her way, and
yeah.
finally,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not rooting for our Jess anymore. I'm rooting for new Jess.
yeah. Well, at this point, I don't know who to root for because I don't know if she really is gonna get her way home. But so she gets to the top, and this is where she says, you have to kill them all. That's the only way we're gonna get home. But the second time she says, that's the only way we're gonna get back to our son. And that's the thing she didn't say
Mhm.
the first time. So this time she says, it's the only way to get back to our
Oh,
son.
okay.
And then she pushes her off the boat. And then we see it from her perspective where she falls in the water and some time goes by. And that nightmare that she had kind of comes to fruition where she's washed up on the beach and you see the shots of the crabs and her face is like in the camera like she's dead, but then the water
Yeah.
rushes over her and she revives herself. So she's not dead. And you think,
Yeah.
okay, maybe she made it
Yeah. So
out.
she wakes up and she hitchhikes home. She looks in the window of her house and sees her son painting. And then she sees herself. Oh, does she ring the doorbell?
No, not yet.
She
She
sees herself
does
first.
she sees herself doing the laundry. Then she comes back inside and she starts yelling at the kid. And you see the connected scenes that we miss at the beginning. What we missed at the
Yeah.
beginning was her being frustrated and yelling at her son and her essentially, I think she smacks him at one point. Like she's essentially like abusive. And you can tell it's because she's fed up, it's because she's frustrated with his disability, et cetera, et cetera. But it fills in the holes of this narrative of like a mom who just wants to get back to her kid. And now it becomes more of what Greg said, where it's guilt. It's not necessarily guilt like he was saying it because she's leaving her son somewhere. This is more guilt of how she treated him in the moment when she had him. And then now she's like, well, I've lost him. And we figure out how that happens later on. But she's like, now I've lost him and I have to look back and see her mistreating him. Well, guess what? I can just get my son back. And that's when she rings the doorbell. And while she
Yeah.
distracts herself, she goes into the shed.
Yeah. Wait, what did she get out of the shed? I forget
Like a
now.
mallet or something. Like something big, like it's like a sledgehammer, a mallet, something big and
Yeah. Or
heavy.
she gets some kind of big tool.
Yeah. And then
And she waits for herself to come back in and then beats herself to death.
right. And
And her little boy Tommy is watching.
right. And that's when she comforts him. And so the initial scene that we open the movie with of her being upset and comforting the kid and telling him it's just a nightmare is her trying to convince him that he didn't see what he saw, which is his mom being killed by his mom.
Yeah.
And so all of that comes full circle and you're like, holy shit, wow. And so at this point, it's like, all right, now what? Like, what is there left? Is she still in this
Yeah.
loop? Is she still in this loop? Has she successfully extricated herself from it? Is it all fine now? But she's driving and she's like, I'm going to be a better mommy, or that wasn't your mommy, I'm your mommy, which is
Yeah.
with this rhetoric of like, that was me, but it wasn't me. But she's just like, that wasn't your mommy, I'm your mommy. And you get a little bit of a glance into, oh, she was kind of crazy to begin with.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I believe her own body is in the trunk while she's saying this.
That's right. That's right. Which is interesting because it took me a minute to realize what was going on later on. So after she kills herself, she puts herself in the trunk and puts a sweater on, takes her necklace back and puts a new necklace on, and gets back in the car with her son. At which point,
Yeah.
he starts screaming because she hits a bird. And then she pulls over to pick the bird up and throw it over to the side. And she sees a pit of dead birds, kind of like the Sally pit.
Yeah. I feel like you see her reaction first.
Yes, you do.
And then it pans down and you see the bird drop into the pile and there's like 100 of them.
Yeah, you see
So
her reaction
you
first.
immediately you see that she's like, oh, I'm still in the loop.
Well,
Like
so
she realizes immediately.
I don't know if I didn't make that connection that's what that meant. I thought she sees a pile of dead birds and is like, this is just like what I just went through. You know what I mean? Like it's a pit of dead birds, kind of like a pit of dead bodies.
Oh,
And it
I
just,
think she knew immediately that this was the
Okay.
Sally pit again.
yeah. Well, she gets in the car and starts to drive off.
She shook after that point. She was like kind of at a
Yeah,
base level before, and now she's shook.
for
And
sure.
the kid's like freaking out because there's still blood on the windshield.
Yeah.
And she flips
Yeah,
the
she-
wiper and it like smears it. And she's like, it's gone, it's fine now. It's like, no, it's just smeared.
Yeah.
It's not gone. That's not gonna
Yeah.
gonna soothe your kid.
And this is while driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is while driving. She gets rid of the bird, gets back in the car, and takes off. I don't know where she's supposed to be going with him, by the way. I don't think it's clear, but he's freaking out about the blood. And yeah, she's like, it's gone now. I wiped it away, but she
I
definitely did
think
not.
she's going to
And then,
the harbor.
oh, because Greg invited her and her
Yeah.
son. Right. So originally the son was supposed to go. So now she's trying to kind of fulfill that, I guess, and make sure the kid goes. I'm not sure.
I think she always left with her son to go to the harbor. We just didn't see it the first time.
Right. But she just like slams into a truck.
But yeah, she's like turns around to yell at her son, and it reminded me of the Babadook, how she's always turning around and yelling at her kid, "Why can't
Mm.
you be normal?" And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
swerves into an oncoming truck and flips her car.
Yeah. The car flips over a bunch of
Yep.
times. And it took me until this conversation to realize that what scatters from the car is the dead body that she put in the
Mm-hmm.
trunk and her kid. And then she's standing off on the sideline. So there's no real transition between the car crash and her getting out. But you see her looking on, and it's her dead body on the ground and the kid. So the kid dies, and she already knows that her body's dead because she killed herself. And then randomly a taxi cab's waiting for her. So that was kind of a weird part.
Yeah. He says, "Nothing you can do to save the boy. Nothing's going to bring him back. Is there anywhere I can bring you?" And she's like, "Yes."
Yeah. That felt so Twilight Zone to me.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, they've seen this character in Twilight Zone
Yeah.
episodes for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was 100%. That was like a Rod Serling kind of throwback of like, nothing can be done. Can I take you somewhere in my magical cab? Yeah, so he takes her to the harbor, and we are back to the beginning of the movie. She meets up with Vic, and this is where we see the conversation that Vic relayed to Greg,
Yeah.
where he says, "Hey, weren't you supposed to have your son with you? Where is he?" And she, exactly how Vic says, that she hesitated like 20 seconds and then was like, "Oh, he's at school." But it was weird because, didn't feel like that's really where he was. So Vic's take on this situation was spot
Yep.
on, and we see it play out. And then it just, we creep back into exactly what happens at the beginning of the movie, and the assumption is that it all
And
just
there's an
starts over
important
again.
detail here, which is the cab driver says, "You'll be back, right? And I'll leave the meter going," which is, I believe, a call to what Sisyphus did to earn his punishment. He didn't pay the fare to hell or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know
Because
that.
when
Interesting.
what Sally says earlier, like he cheated death or broke a promise, is what she says. And then you
Yeah,
get to this part and she's like, lets him leave the meter going and then goes off on a yacht.
right. So had she paid the meter, the loop would have broken.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just thought of that as just like a comment on, "I'll be here because you'll be back, and I'll come back and pick you up the next time the accident
Yeah.
occurs, and I'll bring you back to the harbor, and I will keep doing this because this is the loop that I'm in right now." I didn't think of it. I didn't think of the connection to Sisyphus in that moment. I was just thinking, "Oh yeah, because he says, I'll be here, I'll be waiting, can I take you anywhere?" So it's like we've done this before, and he's doing it again. So yeah, what a ride.
Yeah.
I sort of love stuff like this where I'm like, "Tell me what's going on. I gotta figure this out." I did get um, impatient at one point because I was like, is this gonna be Groundhog Day? We're gonna do this all over again?" But it wasn't, and it definitely did not try my patience in the way I thought it would.
Uh-huh.
We also got some cool shots of her mirrored, not just her looking in a mirror. There's a part where she's sitting against something reflective and she turns her head and you can see her face is like doubled. So that was like really cool foreshadowing because that happened before you knew anything about the multiple versions of herself. I also realized that in our discussion about there always being three of her, that is essentially the
Yeah,
triangle,
exactly.
right? It's just her at each point of the triangle, and as she moves the other versions of her move as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I don't know, I really liked this. I thought it was insane but cool.
Yeah, so regarding Groundhog's Day, I don't have that problem. I love time loop movies, Groundhog's Day style or otherwise. So I loved
Yeah.
Re/Member, Happy Death Day. I liked In the Tall Grass, and I liked
Mm.
this. This was a good one. They
Yeah,
was weirdly
I like time like
This
movies.
was weirdly, like, very predictable in what they were gonna be going for, but I was still, like, super intrigued to watch it all play out. Like, I knew immediately, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, so obviously this is gonna be, like, she lost her son and it's a grief thing because she's being all sketchy about the whereabouts of her son. And then that call comes in, and I'm immediately thinking of like Black Phone 2. I'm like, this is a call from the future. This is them calling themselves.
Yeah.
So I figured that all out. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a time loop. It's gonna be her son's gonna be dead. So, but it was still super interesting, like all the way through. There was like it was just well paced, good. The music was well done. The editing with like the record skips was pretty interesting. I feel like they probably could have done a bit more of the record motif. I feel like there was only that one scene really. The song comes back, but like the record player is a good theme. I think they could have played on more.
Yeah. And it's a good audio representation of the time
Yeah.
skipping because we do see visually we see the movie skip a couple of times in that moment. And you know, we imagine that she goes through that each time, right? Whatever version of herself goes through that. I was really impressed at how many things were set up and resolved.
Yeah.
That was for me the most impressive part, that there were a lot of little things like the doorbell ringing, or I don't know, it just there were a bunch of things where, you know, Downey's body, like what the hell? How did his body get there? And there was a part where she sees a blood on the railing and she doesn't know where it came from. And then you see later on Vic is the one who grabbed the railing. So at one point Vic just goes over the side. Um that's one version where she comes back to see him and he's gone. Then she sees the handprint. So you're like, oh, I guess Vic went over the side.
Now,
Because that part
I
was never
kind of figured
resolved.
that he just like grabbed that to like get his balance because he was so injured, and then
Yeah,
continued to.
and fell
Well, I
over.
thought maybe he just did that and then continued to the dining room to strangle
Oh,
Jess.
okay. Okay.
But it could be either way.
Right. But in the other timeline, she leaves him and is like, I'm gonna come back for you. And then when she comes back, he's gone. So I mean, who knows? I'd have to watch it again to see exactly how that played out. But there were just a lot of little things. I tried to reconcile at one point all the footprints that the footsteps that I kept hearing because she would be on one deck and above her she would hear footprints running across. And so I tried to think, where is the other version of her in this moment? And or where are the other two versions of her in this moment? And you could sort of always know you could always know where the burlap sack one was because they were just hiding. But the other two were the ones that were like running around back and forth. So I was trying to like pay attention to, again, she hears footsteps above her, like running across. It's herself, which was interesting. But yeah, I did like there were a lot of things that were set up and resolved later on, and I did like the pacing. Like I said, I would have gotten a little frustrated. Like there's a Supernatural episode where Dean dies every day, and it's the episode where Loki is essentially trying to tell Sam Dean's gonna die and you have to accept it. And so he has Dean die just like repeatedly every day just to get Sam to accept the fact that his brother's gonna die. And God, that episode was annoying.
And
It was funny at times, but it was just the same thing over and over again. It was this Groundhog Day thing, but it was like just really obnoxiously done. So I don't hate that episode, but I am not the biggest Groundhog Day fan. As long as it's like there's nothing being there are a few times where it happens and there's no information learned, right? And I kind of want it to be like each time it happens, please learn
oh
something.
yeah,
And I think here it was extremely efficient. Like she goes through it the first time, the second time she figures things out, the third time she figures things out. And so that's what made it very interesting and tolerable to go through those time loops because she's learning something each time. Whereas like Groundhog Day, it's like 3 or 4 iterations before he starts to figure things out, right? Same thing in that Supernatural episode. It goes on for like 17 times. And it's just different ways of like Dean being killed and freak accidents and stuff. And nothing's being
yeah.
learned. You know, there's no information being gained from it. So it's like, ugh, this is just repeating and there's no resolution. But this was good. This had resolution in each iteration. Things were learned, and so it was a pretty tight. I thought it was a pretty tight presentation.
Yeah, and regarding that supernatural episode, Sam's gonna be like, "Why do I have to learn to deal with it? He's just gonna be back in the season premiere anyway." You know, Dean can only stay dead for half of one
Yeah,
episode
it's true.
at most.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do like um time loop things. And going back to In the Tall Grass, I liked In the Tall Grass because I thought that different things happened and you were presented with a different mystery each time things went around.
Yeah.
And it didn't go around cleanly because you didn't even see it all happening. So I liked that one for a different reason, even though I do think I don't necessarily lump it with these kinds of time loop movies because it wasn't like back to the beginning and let's play it all again.
But I mean, it
I thought this was well
it did
done.
also have the scene of zooming out to show hundreds of corpses of the character who's currently being murdered. So that was pretty similar.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And so I think ultimately what I am drawn to is probably not necessarily this has happened before versus let's just start all over again, but
Yeah.
sort of a mix of this has happened before and let's show you a little bit of what it was that has repeated, but not necessarily just repeating the whole thing over and over again. Right? There's a little bit of showing and a little bit of telling, I think, and that was well done here. I thought it was a good balance. So I don't know. I do kind of want to look up what the Shining references were there for. If it was just a throwback, just because, or if it was, really representing something else in the movie. I don't know. It was a ghost ship kind of, so maybe that just made sense to have it
Yeah.
kind of be a part of that theme.
Or
But yeah,
I mean, she does
I'll
kind
probably
of
look it
just
up.
have her Jack Torrance turned to crazy murder mode.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, pretty interesting and like really well done and smart. I was really pleased while I was watching this. Have anything else?
So Smith, the director, said he wanted to make a cyclical film that explored deja vu, avoiding using elements in Jacob's Ladder. I was wondering if you'd seen Jacob's Ladder.
No, I haven't.
Oh, we should watch that one.
Have you
I
seen it?
forget it, but I remember really liking it. Yeah.
Okay.
He was also inspired by Memento, which I definitely see with the unraveling of clues and the way he did that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although I gotta say, this made more sense to me than Memento did on the first watch.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I feel like that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Memento's supposed to be like a mind fuck,
Yeah.
whereas this is, I mean, this telegraphs what it is immediately.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're just like, we're not going to surprise you with what it is. We're going to surprise you with like how it's done. And
Yeah. No, agree. So speaking of things that you want to watch, I stumbled upon the original short story collection called The King in Yellow, and it is
Oh, yeah.
the seminal material for H.P. Lovecraft's all of his stories that talk about the King in Yellow and Carcosa and all of that stuff. And apparently somehow that led me down a rabbit hole to a movie from like the 40s or the 50s called Dark Knight. And so I was thinking that we should take a look at that because that has good reviews and has also inspired a lot of things that came after it. I don't know how we can find it. Maybe like
The Dark Knight, huh?
no, it's just called Dark Knight.
Oh, okay.
I can look it up and see exactly what year it's from, but I'd imagine it's on like Criterion or something because it's it's an older movie.
All right. I mean, if it's that old, it might just be on YouTube anyway.
That's true.
A lot of those old movies are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add that to the list.
All right. So, are you ready to rate or do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think I'll give this a 3.5.
Okay. I gave this 4 stars, which was nice because I feel like I haven't given something 4 stars in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what I was thankful for in this movie is I was afraid that it was gonna be a story about how she like killed her own kid, like not as an accident, or like out of anger or frustration or neglect or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
I was glad it didn't go down that route and that it was just an accident.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you can also see that part of her grief is because her last moments with him were spent being frustrated with him, right? Because you kind of think,
Yeah.
and she seems to have forgotten that when she goes and is like, how dare she treat him that way? I'm going to take her out and take her place because I'll be better. But like, she completely forgets. And that's the other thing I wasn't sure about. How is it that she completely forgets everything once it's reset? And it's not even reset at the time of the accident because the time skip stuff didn't happen until she was on the boat. So is she in denial or does she really not remember? Especially when she's like, these corridors remind me of something instead of saying I've done this all before. I don't know. I was very,
Yeah. Well, I think she's in a haze. I mean, it's very the way we're introduced to her when she arrives at the harbor, she's in such a haze. And I feel like she's constantly like having ADHD, stepping through a doorway and forgetting completely everything that you were just trying to remember. Like I
yeah.
got
Oh,
that
the
feeling so
threshold.
many times in this movie. I feel like she's just constantly like losing grip of her
Yeah,
memories.
that's actually a known phenomenon. It's not necessarily an ADHD thing that when you cross the threshold, your brain resets. But okay.
It also reminded me of ADHD, the way every time she tried to explain something, she'd forget all the important parts.
Yeah.
Because that's also how I feel. Even on this show, I'm like, oh, I forgot all the parts that made what I said important.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
But it's probably not life or death on this podcast, but in her case, it usually is.
Yeah. But I mean, not necessarily. It's more like not communicating clearly with the people who she's with. Like, I don't know. I think she could have been much more helpful to those people had she been clearer. But,
Yeah.
it comes to the point where they're on the yacht and she doesn't seem to realize that, hey, that's the ship. You think there'd be some kind of residual memory of like, we shouldn't go on this ship. And she says it right at the end, right before they all go on, where she's like, something's wrong. And you're like, okay, you could have been a little more forceful at that point because this is a pretty fucking big deal. But
They're not gonna care. They're gonna be like, whoa, Looney Jess has a bad feeling. Ooh,
yeah.
boo
No, I
hoo.
get it. I understand that her credibility was lacking at that point. But yeah, it just seemed a little, I don't know. Everything was kind of off, which I think was intentional, but
Yeah, definitely intentional because that's like it's makes such a it's such a mood when she shows up at that dock and it's like why is she totally in a daze and
yeah.
why is Victor the only one who seems to be reacting to it
Yeah.
appropriately where he's like she is not okay.
Also, Greg says to her at one point, you don't have to go. And she's like, oh, no, I do. I mean, I want to. And I don't understand why she feels like she has to go. Is it in her mind, this is the path to getting
To get her
back,
son back.
to her
Yeah.
son so she can get in an accident again? I don't like, she doesn't seem to understand that that's what the loop is.
No, she's gonna get her son back and not get in the accident this time. This time it's gonna be different.
Okay. I guess that, yeah, she's okay.
I mean, it's Sisyphus.
Yeah.
She has to believe that it's gonna work, but she has to fail every time.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. All right. So, what are we gonna watch next week?
All right. Next week, The Wailing keeps coming
It
back.
keeps coming back. All right, we're doing it.
So The Wailing 2016.
Awesome. Okay. And I feel like I have seen this, but it's been a long time and I don't remember if it was all that simple to understand. So, I do my best. But I'm excited. Finally, we get through this.
All right. I haven't seen it,
Okay.
so I'm looking forward.
All righty.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time.
This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.